What's up, everybody? Coming to talk to y'all today about that 2005 Toyota Corolla with the 1ZZFE notorious 1.8 4-cylinder that runs forever. Okay, so we're doing a lot to it. We're doing the timing chain. I'll start by showing you the cover that I have off over here. The timing chain was rattling inside of the timing cover. Your tensioner goes in here, and it's like a mechanical tensioner, and it goes in here and puts tension up against the chain, and when it gets loose, the chain will get loose and rattle up against here, and you hear rattling. So we caught it in time. I've seen it where people wait and keep driving it, and this will all be scarred up inside from the chain rattling up against it. Yeah, so we'll be doing the water pump, the new timing chain. This will be getting painted. The valve cover there looks crappy, and that'll get painted too. Got the radiator out just to have a little more room to work with, because I have to lower and raise the engine, and I need that extra room there to move the engine around. So the inside of the engine is not horribly sludged up. It actually looks pretty clean. I use this compression gauge tool. Oh, excuse me. We're yawning on y'all. Been doing some late night work on this because I have other stuff going on in the day. Anyways, I got this compression gauge tool in there, and I take the compression gauge off and put a little balloon in it. And the reason why I put the balloon in is because as I'm rotating, I'm looking for when that balloon fills up with air and cylinder number 1, and I know I'm on the compression stroke. Just a little thing I do to verify, to double check that I'm on compression stroke. Now you could also check if you're on compression stroke by looking at your intake valves to see if the lobes on them are up and if the valve is closed or open, and you could see that. So that's how you know the position of your valves. Then it has timing marks on the top, which I'll show you in a minute. Now that it's down, I'm going to show you the timing marks on the bottom before I jack it up. And so this obviously has the keyway, and the keyway only goes in one way, and then you have this like letter F right there, and that letter F should be pointing up from what I read online. So then you'll take that off. It's pointing up the way it should. Set that out of the way, and then I'll show you the other timing marks behind there on the sprocket. See if we can get this crappy little iPhone to focus. Okay, so you see the marks. The mark here on the keyway lines up with that dimple back there. And then you have another mark over here that comes off to the side. So there you go. And the chain is obviously loose because the tensioner is off. That's the timing you're looking for on the bottom. You want that dot at about 3 o'clock, and then you want the keyway at 12 o'clock lined up with the dot of there. Then you're gonna come up to the top here. Got our 3-ton jack on a piece of wood on the oil pan. And I'm gonna bring it up as high as I can It looks like this piece of wood wants to slip, but it'll hold just long enough for y'all to see. Okay, so yes, I have to rotate the phone. So you see this dot here, you want it up at 12 o'clock, and then the other two most important dots are those two, the EX dot with the other dot across. You want them lining up. It looks to me like this mark matters too, like you want that mark facing up roughly about 12 o'clock like you do on that dot over there. So, and then the rest is just chain and guides. So if you see here on my iPad, those are the marks they're displaying. They got a little slightly, the dot slightly off of 12 o'clock, and this one slightly off, but they're mainly focused on these two being straight across the EX marks. On the timing cover with the crank pulley, you wanted the mark to line up on that also, which I did before I took it off. I made sure, and I'll show you that over here. And so your crank pulley is gonna have a little mark in it, and I just kind of made the mark a little more visible with a knife and a Sharpie. And you want that mark to line up on 0 over here, like that, before you remove this crank pulley and this timing cover. And so when that lines up on 0 there with the timing cover off, you can see at the top of the timing cover, and you can verify that your two top marks have the EX dot across from the other cam gear. You have the VVTi on the intake side, which is this side, and then you have the exhaust on this side. So once those line up, they show you some other stuff here too. The marks on the bottom, the guides. Again, just talking more about the EX marks lining up there. Those are pretty much the most important. These are all your tightening sequence on the bolts for the cover. There's the letter F pointing up, and your crank angle sensor plate. I already showed y'all that. Here is the tensioner, where it goes on to the guide. That's pretty simple to understand. And then here is your marks, and they're giving you the teeth count on the new chains because they'll come marked. And you want the center mark and the teeth here, and then the teeth marks to line up at the top. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So there's your timing on that, and then we'll move this out of the way, and we'll set that over there, and I'll show you these new components. So here's your new exhaust cam gear, and yes, it has the dot up top. It has the EX dot there. So this one I'll be taking off, and I'll be replacing with this one. Now, technically, do I have to? No, I really don't. There's nothing wrong with that one. There really isn't. If I want to, I can leave that one on. But whatever, it came in the kit, we'll replace it. These are your guides, and they're new. Also, you got one for each side. You got your crank seal, which is what goes here. And you can see this one was starting to leak. And so it's a good thing he bought this. So we'll replace that seal. I will pull it out after I paint it, because that way I can pull it out without having to tape it up while I paint it. You can just paint over it and pop that seal out and then put the new seal in without painting the new seal. I will probably be covering this up with some painter's tape so I don't paint over that and paint the rest. But yeah, there's your seal for that. We'll leave that there. And then this is the sprocket for the bottom crank. I believe this is pressed on. If it slides off, then we'll replace it. If this is like to where I gotta torch it off, I might just leave that bottom one on, because in all honesty, there seems to be nothing wrong with the one on the bottom. It didn't get damaged, but we'll see if it slides on or off. I haven't got to that point yet. Here's your tensioner, new one. I thought this was hydraulic, but it's mechanical. It has that little lock right there. You see that little lock? That little lock pulls back and boom, it unloads, and it has like some kind of little teeth here that pop out. I was looking at the old one, that's how I know. Here's your new chain with the gold marks for your 3 main timing marks. The 2 on top and then the 1 on the bottom. So that's pretty much the whole timing kit there. And then there you see the valve cover gasket set. We have ourselves a Dayco Serpentine belt. Part number 6PK1535. Yeah. And a set of NGK Sparks Plugs. And these are the 7090s NGK stock number. So there's your spark plugs that'll be going in the hole there. And we have ourselves a water pump that doesn't want to come out. One-handing stuff while you record with the other hand. So much fun. So here's your new water pump in the package. So pretty. And then there's your gasket for it. So, and then there's all our other parts over there. Let me come around and show you that. What do we have here? We have, ladies and gentlemen, a Wix XP Oil Filter. Number 51394XP. Best oil filter for any car. We have a synthetic high mileage 10W30. And we have, by Valvoline, of course, we have the gasket maker red RTV for the valve cover gasket. We have a headlight restore kit because the headlights look like crap and 3M makes the best headlight restore. We have 85 by 140 gear weight by Master Pro, and that is for the manual transmission where we're replacing that fluid. And then we have Asian Coolant from Valvoline, and it's what Nissan uses, and we'll be topping off the coolant with that. And we have a can of duplicolor semi-gloss black paint to paint those 2 covers we took off, the timing cover and the valve cover. And we have a PCV valve. Nice gold finish, threaded. So we'll be replacing that. And that sits on the valve cover over here for those of you that are like, where does the PCV valve go, Danny? It goes right there. This will thread out. I'll leave this one in when I paint it, and then I'll take it off. I'll crack it loose first. Important note, crack it loose first before you paint it. And then that way you can twist it back on by hand to where you can hand twist it off after it's painted. It also gives you somewhere to grab that you don't care about while it's being painted, and you need to lift it up and move it around. These threads I'll tape off. Inside of this hole I'll tape off. Whoa, choking. So we got to grind this up, clean this up, and get it ready for paint, and let the paint sit overnight. We're dicking around with the thermostat on it too. What are we doing to the thermostat? Why did we pull the alternator off? Why did we do that? We could have left it on there, right? Oh, by the way, this one is a stick shift. That's what I love about these Corollas. Keep it a stick. So yeah, we took the motor mount off. We took obviously the tensioner bracket for the Serpentine belt is what you see there, the motor mount, and then the alternator came off. And you say, Danny, you're a dummy. You didn't have to take the alternator off. Well, yes, I did. So the reason why is because you don't do a water pump, which goes right there. You don't do the water pump and not at least inspect the thermostat. Now I know the thermostat was decent because I had done it recently, but I don't remember if I did it or somebody else did it. I know it had probably been done recently, but you see this little bleeder nipple right here? That is getting chopped off of there. And then the hole would just be straight flow through that hole without this little bleeder restricting it. And that'll allow some coolant to flow there even when the thermostat's closed, relieving pressure and never allowing it to get to full pressure. But it still allows it to build pressure. It's not like if you were to just completely hack the thermostat wide open like most people do. That's actually bad for fuel economy and other things in the engine. But all I do is take that little nipple off. So I inspect it, make sure the thermostat is good. I put it in hot water to watch it open. To see at what temperature it's going to open. I have a thermometer that I check that with, and make sure that it's still opening and working correctly. So now I know I can reuse it. I'll just chop the nipple off, put the housing back on it, and yeah. But you want to make sure that if you do a water pump and the water pump was leaking, that you at least inspect the thermostat. So we pulled the alternator off to do that, and it gives us a little more real estate to work with. So the next phase I'm working with here is taking off the guides, taking off the chain, the motor set in timing now. I know I was on compression stroke because I had air in the balloon. Obviously it's leaked out by now. I've confirmed all my timing marks, which I've already shown you and don't want to bore you again with it. But yeah, that's about it. The next phase for me, oh yeah, you say, Danny, why did you take the radiator out? Well, I didn't have to, honestly, but I like working with a little more room, and I had to take that alternator out and whatnot, and I'm lifting the engine up and lowering it and lifting it, and it's going forward and backward, and I got the lower subframe bar and that motor mount loose. I got a couple things loose because the engine wasn't dropping down enough by just releasing this motor mount. So, God, I can't stop yawning during this video. So I ended up having to release that bar, take that motor mount out to get the engine to drop down low enough. Alrighty, so by doing that, you get the engine down low enough to where you can clear this piece of the frame here, the pillar there. So that gives you plenty of room to work with over here, and release your bottom bolts for your guides. Which I was looking at these guides. I mean, this thing was rattling and all, but these guides don't even look that bad. But the plastic does get old and brittle, so we're gonna go ahead and replace them anyways. We got it here anyways. I'm gonna pull this chain out and compare it to the new chain and make sure that it didn't get stretched. If it didn't get stretched and it seems to be better quality and it's the same exact length and it's not stretched, then we might be putting this belt chain back on, and if not, then we'll use the one it came with. But sometimes those ones you order on the kits online ain't that great. So anyways, just wanted to show y'all this. Got the motor down out of the way. I'll be cleaning up the bolts. Oh, here's your old tensioner. This is the component that failed. And as you can see, it's mechanical. And you gotta, I can't do it with one hand, but you bend this thing back with a flathead because it's biting on. See if this camera out of focus, because that bites into the teeth here. And then you could decompress this, bring it back, and attach with this little thing back to there, and that's how you lock this back down, and that's how much it extends. But and then obviously you got your O-ring sealer here and your 2 bolts that come in on the opposite end. And there's a guy that did a video, and with all due respect, he did a really good video on this, and feel free to go watch his video because he did a good job. He was very thorough, but he had a very strong accent. And I'm not one to make fun of anybody or beat them up over having a strong accent, but it was hard to understand him the way I wanted to be able to understand him. Okay, there we go. I had it backwards because I'm looking at the camera and not at the actual part. But anyways, this will sit in here like this, and then it'll pop out, pop, and put tension on that chain and on that guide. And as long as you got your timing right, once you put this in, bolt it down, release the pin, all that, it tightens up on the chain and you don't have chain rattle. And this only goes in one way with the teeth facing towards the back of the cover. You try to put it in the other way and it won't let you. It has one position that it goes in, that the holes line up in. So anyways, there's your water pump hole. All this has to be cleaned. I'm gonna clean this. I'm gonna leave that seal in for now. Clean all this, paint. So that's what I'll be doing for the rest of the night. Let the paint dry. Tomorrow, put the seal back in it. Do the same thing to this valve cover. I gotta do a lot of clean tonight. Grind all this off. This I will paint over this sticker. I'll just grind that right off. Crack the PCV valve loose. Get all this nice and clean. Cover up the holes where the spark plugs are gonna go. I don't want paint all up inside of these holes, so I'll cover these holes up. And we'll get that valve cover nice and clean and painted. We'll get that timing cover nice and clean and painted. We'll put this new sprocket, these new chain guides, we'll put all those new parts back on it tomorrow. So today was get this thing taken apart, do a compression test, verify timing. Night, we've done all that, so we know for sure we got the correct timing marks. And yeah, I'm gonna spend the rest of the night grinding and cleaning. So thank you for watching. I think I've gone over anything. Anybody else has any questions, feel free to hit me up with a question in the comments. Peace. There will be a part 2 video, maybe a part 3. Part 2 video will be it looking all pretty and painted, going back together. Part 3 video will probably be it running and test driving it going down the road. So look out for part 2, look out for part 3. Go check out this other guy's videos. The guy with the heavy accent, I'm not sure where he's from, but really heavy accent, but really thorough, really good video. He gets into more step-by-step detailed how to do it. This video is not intended for that. This video is intended for somebody like me that's handy, that knows how to work on cars, is already a certified mechanic, just not too familiar with this Corolla. I do a lot of work on Chevys, Fords, like American V8s, and European cars. I really don't work on these little 4-cylinder Japanese engines as much as I used to when I was younger. I worked on the old school 1.8s where they had the rubber timing belt. I knew those a lot better. I really haven't worked on these too much. So a guy like me that doesn't have that much experience with this Toyota 1ZZ, 2FZZ, whatever these engines are, a video like watching what I got going on gives him an idea of what the tensioner looks like, what the guides look like, where the timing marks are, and just kind of skips through all the other stuff that the guy went really in detail to with a really heavy accident. It was just, I struggled in understanding him. It was hard for me to sit there and have to watch it. But I do appreciate him making the effort to make the video, because as hard as it was to understand them, I was able to in the end, and I got some value out of it. So shout out to his video. There's only like 2 or 3 videos out there on these Corolla timing belts. So I figure I'll add mine to it. Like I said, mine is not the perfect detailed step-by-step. It's just to kind of give you an idea of the job, and somebody that knows what they're doing really just needs an idea. They don't need a step-by-step detailed process. But if anybody else has any specific question, drop a comment below. Thanks for watching, y'all. I gotta get to grinding, cleaning, and let this paint dry overnight. Have a blessed night. Peace.